What is up, everyone? Happy Friday. What a first round of playoffs we just got. That was awesome. We got three series. Three of the four went to game threes. Only 2 out of 16 in history the first 4 years went to game three. This year we got 3 out of 4, which was awesome to see. Happy Friday, everyone. I am pumped up. Today we're going to be previewing the ALDS matchups, the NLDS matchups, going through them, making picks, talking about how each team can win each series. I love these matchups. I'm excited to talk through them. That first round was honestly awesome. I can't get over it. What an absolutely electric first round of the playoffs. If that's any indication of what we're going to get the rest of the way, we are all in for an absolute treat the rest of the playoffs. Man, especially last night. Cam Schlittler was awesome. A legend was born in the Bronx last night in game 3 with Cam Schlittler. 12 punch-outs, 8 innings. Props to Aaron Boone. You know what? I thought Aaron Boone deserved a lot of credit. Game 1, maybe not his best, and I thought he did better and better game 2 and game 3, and a little less over-managing, and I thought he handled game 2 and 3 awesome. Deserves a ton of credit for letting Cam Schlittler go back out there and dominate the way he did. But we're going to preview these series. If you take a look right here, these are our matchups. The Tigers advanced over the Guardians. The Yankees advanced over the Red Sox. The Dodgers advanced over the Reds. And the Cubbies advanced over the San Diego Padres. Excited to hop in on all of this today. Talk to you guys in the chat. Please leave some comments in the chat here so I can see them and talk through them and answer any questions you have as we go through and preview all these series. There's a lot of heavyweight matchups here. Dodgers-Phillies, in my opinion. Man, I wish Dodgers-Phillies was 7 games. This would be an awesome 7-game series, but it's 2 heavyweights in the NLDS there with Padres or with the Dodgers-Phillies. I did have the Padres advancing over the Cubs. That's the one I missed. I got 3 of 4 right in the first round. Cubbies advanced to play the number 1 seed. Now we have on the American League side of things the Detroit Tigers against the 2 seed Seattle Mariners. And then we have the Yankees advancing to play the number 1 seed Toronto Blue Jays. Now, they are the number 1 seed by way of the tiebreaker. The Yankees and the Blue Jays both tied for the best record in the American League. The Blue Jays hold the tiebreaker over the Yankees, so they are the 1 seed. The Yankees fall to 4, but they both had the best record in the American League, so that's going to be a great matchup as well. Dodgers would win all 7. Yes, very well said, JG Bull. Yes, please drop your questions throughout. I'm excited to preview, but I'm also going to look over here at the questions and answer anything you guys might have along the way. Let's start with this first series here, Tigers-Mariners. For each series, I want to go through each team's strength and how each team can beat the other team, an X factor for the series, and who I think ultimately ends up winning the series. We're going to start right here with the Detroit Tigers. The Tigers' strength is pretty simple. The Detroit Tigers' strength is Tarek Skubal. He's, in my opinion, the best pitcher on the planet. There's a Tarek Skubal and Paul Skeens discussion to be had, but Tarek Skubal is the best pitcher on the planet. And the big difference between these two teams is the Tigers have Tarek Skubal and the Seattle Mariners do not. Whatever game Tarek Skubal starts, I don't know if it's going to be game 1. I do have the matchups and the pitching matchups and everything lined up, but I don't think either team has yet set their starter. Yeah, okay. So as we speak, this series is going to start. It's going to be the 8:38 p.m. Eastern game. No team has set their starter. Is Skubal going to be able to go in game 1? Who do the Mariners throw in game 1? We don't exactly know. But the Tigers have Tarek Skubal, and whenever they have him on the mound, they're going to be favorites. So he's the Tigers' strength. Plain and simple. The Tigers struggled their way through the wild card round. They did not hit until the 6th inning of Game 3. They have been absolutely abysmal with runners in scoring position until the 6th, 7th inning of Game 3. They finally figured it out. So their offense needs to get better. The Mariners' strength is their entire pitching staff. The Mariners' pitching staff is awesome. I know throughout the course of the regular season, they weren't as dominant as they usually are. If you look at team pitching, the Mariners ended up finishing 7th. Which they were middle of the pack around the halfway mark of the year. So they really got better as the season went. Look, this Seattle Mariners pitching staff is elite. There's no way around it. Luis Castillo, Logan Gilbert, Brian Wu was an all-star. Andres Munoz in the bullpen. They're nasty top to bottom. So the Mariners' big strength is their pitching staff as a whole, that in the American League finished 4th. 4th in the American League. In terms of ERA, they finished 6th in the American League. So their pitching staff is nasty. That's their big strength. For me, the Detroit Tigers win this series if their offense doesn't go 4 for 50 with runners in scoring position like they had in their prior 4 playoff games before Game 3. They have to hit with runners in scoring position. They have to. If they don't, they're going to lose this series. The Mariners win if they can beat Tarek Skubal once. You just have to beat Tarek Skubal once, and I think the Mariners win this series. Is this live or pre-recorded? This is live, JP. Thanks for hopping in here. Mariners have the MVP. Tigers beat the worst playoff roster I've ever seen. Mariners have the MVP. Cal Raleigh is who you are referring to. That's going to be an interesting race as well. Cal Raleigh versus MVP versus Aaron Judge. What are the majority of you? We have 190 people in here right now, currently. I need everyone to answer. Just one name, Cal or Judge. Who's your MVP pick? What do you think of the Cubs' chances of going all the way? I'll talk more about the Cubs when we get to that series, but they looked really good in that first series against the Padres. When do you think Shohei will pitch? Shohei is pitching Game 1. Game 1 against the Phillies will be Shohei Ohtani's first postseason appearance on the mound. Judge all day. Cal, Judge, Cal. This race is awesome. I love this MVP race. It's so unique. It's such a unique race because Aaron Judge is the Cal, Judge, Judge. I mean, it's such a unique race because you have these two players. Aaron Judge is the best hitter on planet Earth. There's no debating that. He had the best year offensively. There's no debating that. But Cal doing what Cal did as a catcher, I think holds a ton of weight. You're managing 13 pitchers. You have a pitching staff. You have 2 meetings you're going into. So we're going to get to see Cal Raleigh on this stage. You know what I think? A lot of votes for Cal. Wow. Well, M. Hawkeye is voting about 1 million times, so that's cheating a little bit, but count it. If these two teams advance, if the Seattle Mariners and the New York Yankees advance, Cal Raleigh and Aaron Judge, if those two advance, here's what I think we need to do. Scrap all the rules. Scrap the rules of it's just a regular season. That's all the voting is for. No. ALCS for the MVP, for the pennant. Make it all happen in one place. I think that would be awesome. JG Bull loves ball. Raleigh has more impact on his team. Exactly. So, look, I don't make this argument and argue against the other player. Aaron Judge is the best hitter on planet Earth. He's one of the greatest hitters of all time. His stretch that he's in right now, 2022 to 2025, is Barry Bonds-esque. It's Babe Ruth-esque. It's one of the best stretches that we've ever seen. But you don't win an MVP for a 3-year stretch. You win it for what happened in this current year. And Cal Raleigh, 60 homers as a catcher. Man, this is going to be an awesome, awesome race. All right, back to the Tigers and Mariners, this series. Tigers win if their offense wakes up. They got to figure out how to score against a very deep Mariners pitching staff. The Mariners win if they can beat Tarek Skubal just once. You're probably going to have to face Tarek Skubal twice. If you can beat him one time, I think the Mariners are the better team with the offensive additions they made. Cal Raleigh, Julio Rodriguez, and I love those additions of Josh Naylor and Eugenio Suarez, adding some thump into that lineup. The X factor for me in this series, especially with the Tigers, Javi Baez is a playoff player. Think of Javi Baez for a second. This guy has gotten a lot of crap his last couple years for swinging at a lot of pitches, striking out a lot. Think of the player Javi Baez is. By the way, he's raking in the playoffs. This guy lives for the moment. Comes up with the Cubs in Wrigley, in Chicago, big market, loves playing there. Team goes to the playoffs. He's awesome. They go to the World Series. He's great in the World Series. And then the team starts struggling. The Cubs aren't as good of a team, and Javi Baez starts struggling. He gets traded over to the Mets. He's awesome with the Mets in the second half. He was electric. And then he gets signed by the Detroit Tigers. And look, I can admit this. I root for the Tigers. I played there for 5 years. That's where I played professionally. I can admit this. Detroit's not the sexiest place to play in the world. It's not the most electric market in the world. You know, March, April in Detroit, it's freezing. There's not a ton of people at those games yet, but Detroit's a baseball city. Detroit loves baseball. He's an all-star the first half. He struggles in the second half. The calendar turns to October, and Javi Baez is back. This guy lives for the pressure. Javi Baez was electric for the Detroit Tigers in the first round. I don't know if they advance without Javi Baez. I think Javi Baez needs to be bumped up in the lineup. The guy lives for October. He's the Detroit Tigers X factor in that series. You need Tarek Skubal to pitch twice. You need to win twice. And you need Javi Baez to step up in that offense to hit with runners in scoring position. I ultimately do not believe that ends up happening. I have the Seattle Mariners advancing, and I still have the Seattle Mariners advancing. I think the Tigers offense is missing too much. They're struggling with runners in scoring position too much. They didn't add much offensively. I think they needed another piece offensively. And I think what the Mariners did with the pitching staff they have, I've been clamoring on for 5 years to please just add some offense, Seattle Mariners. And they did that. They added offense. I think it helps them big time. I do think they're the better team because of that. I think they're the more complete team. And I do think they end up winning this series. Seattle's going to be electric. I can't wait to watch playoff baseball in Seattle. That place is going to be absolutely nuts. So that's Tigers Mariners. Let's check in on the chat, see what you guys are saying. They're saying Skubal in Game 2 and Game 5. I think that's most likely. Look, Skubal pitched on Tuesday. Game 1 Saturday, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So you'd rather wait. If you're going to have them pitch twice, you'd rather have them pitch on short rest once than both starts be on short rest, right? So pitch them on Sunday in Game 2. Is Game 2 going to be... Let's see the schedule. Because I know they start staggering. Wait, where is this? 2025 playoff date, Game 1. Game 2 is going to be... So the ALDS does have the Game 2 on Sunday. So pitch Tarek Skubal on Sunday on regular rest, and then that leaves him for Game 5 if you can get there. I like that because you're probably not going to go Game 1 and then a Game 4. I think start him on regular rest and then start him on short rest if need be. Who starts Game 1 for Detroit? AJ Hinch is going to do an AJ Hinch special. He's gonna just go with chaos that game. Hope we get through Phillies and Brewers, Motor City Kitties. M's already beat Skubal twice. They can do it again. Look, playoffs is a different beast, and Tarek Skubal rises to the occasion. You could say the same thing about the Cleveland Guardians, right? Cleveland Guardians just came back from a 15.5 game deficit and passed the Tigers' biggest collapse ever. It doesn't matter until October. Nobody's going to talk about that big collapse now. Why? Because they eliminated the team that passed them. October's a different beast. Tarek Skubal is an absolute beast in the playoffs. Beating him twice is no easy task. It really isn't. Mariners a different beast. Who's got the deeper bullpen? Deeper bullpen. Look, if the Tigers did things right at the trade deadline, it was with the bullpen. Adding Finnegan was big. I do like that addition. Canely in the offseason. I think maybe deeper. Will Vest at the back end is good. Deeper, I'll give it maybe a slight edge to the Tigers, but I have to give the bullpen edge to the Mariners just because of Munoz in the back end. Munoz is filthy. He's an absolute stud of a closer. So I feel better pitching staff wise. Look, the Tigers have Tarek Skubal and then maybe some more good arms in the bullpen, but the Mariners have a better staff and the best closer. Get some innings out of your starters, hand it to the back end of the bullpen, and you're going to be golden. I do like the Mariners back into the bullpen a lot. Where do you rank Yamamoto among the best pitchers on the planet? Tarek Skubal, Paul Skeens, Max Fried's in that discussion. Cam Schlittler's clearly the best pitcher in baseball. Cam Schlittler's a legend. Best pitcher in baseball. Past Tarek Skubal and Paul Skeens and everyone in one start. Just kidding, but seriously. Yamamoto's got to be top 5 for what he did this year, for sure. Flaherty's a playoff legit. Guardians offense just bad. Flaherty arises to the occasion for sure, but the Guardians offense is bad. Dingler, lots of Tigers fans in here. Absolutely. All right, back to this. Let's move on to the next series. Let's talk Yankees, Blue Jays. Number 1 seed against the number 4 seed. Again, though, the Blue Jays and Yankees tied for the best record. The Blue Jays just held the tiebreaker. So let's talk through this series. I'm excited about this one. First 2 games. Look, all of these games are best of 5, by the way. These are best of 5 series. The Yankees' strength is their studs in the rotation and Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is the best player in this series. I hear you with Vladdy Jr. and the depth that the Blue Jays have in their lineup, but it's not close. Aaron Judge is the best player in this series. He's the best offensive player on the planet. This series is gonna be a lot of fun. So the Yankees' strength is Aaron Judge plus the 3-headed monster at the top of their rotation. I was a huge Cam Schlittler fan coming into the playoffs, and then he goes out and in his first start in the postseason as a rookie punches out 12 guys in 8 innings and made that call look really good. JG Bull, not a fan of the Blue Jays manager. Okay. I don't know how much look, the managerial matchups matter a lot. I thought Aaron Boone got a lot better throughout the first round. We'll see how Schneider does in the playoffs as well. But I'm excited for this series. Blue Jays, on the other hand, Blue Jays' strength is their starting pitching depth. Okay? So, yes, the Yankees have Fried, Rodon, and Schlittler. I think in the playoffs you need a 3-headed monster, and they have it. If you want to go further than that, I think the Blue Jays have the depth. But look, I don't look at this series and see a huge advantage for the Toronto Blue Jays in any one department. Where's the huge Blue Jays advantage? Let me hear it. Anyone in the chat right now? I'm gonna move my camera over this ad in the corner because it's so close to covering it up, and it's really annoying me. So we're gonna move that there, and we're gonna oh baby, is that better? We love that. Ability to not strike out, yeah, true. Blue Jays have lineup, depth, defense, and bench. Yeah, I'll argue you on lineup depth. I don't exactly know if that's the case. I think Jazz really extends the Yankees lineup. I'm worried about the number of lefties that the Blue Jays have to get out Jazz, Ben Rice, Austin Wells. This series sets up well for the Yankees, in my opinion. You know, they're probably going to go Gausman in game 1. I don't think this is lined up yet. Let's see. Preview. Okay, nobody's officially announced their guys, but this is at 4:08 Eastern. You're probably going to go Gausman in game 1. And Shane Bieber, Jose Barrios, Chris Bassett, like who are you turning to? A bunch of righties. And who's the dominant lefty in the back? I worry about thank you, Sierra. I appreciate that. I worry about their bullpen. Hoffman hasn't exactly been shut down. I don't know. Yeah, I'll give you defense. The Blue Jays defense is good. Bichette is still going to be out for the first round, which is huge. Their injuries are going to be huge. Jimenez is going to be playing shortstop. He's a stud defensively. Dalton Varsho's a stud defensively. They are better defensively. I'll give you that. But lineup depth, I don't know if I agree with that. I think the Yankees lineup depth is better. The three-headed monster in the rotation, the Yankees is better. The back end of the bullpen, the Yankees is better. Look, Devin Williams has been much better as of late. David Bednar has been good in the back end. Hoffman's been a struggle in the back end for the Blue Jays. I just don't know where their big advantage is. But we get another division rivalry in the ALDS round. There's one on the National League side as well. Look, the New York Yankees beat the Blue Jays if their starters perform as they did in round one. There's no beating the New York Yankees if Max Fried, Carlos Rodon, and Cam Schlittler perform as they did in round one. Fried and Schlittler were disgusting. Rodon's stuff looked good. If it weren't for his own error, they probably win that game as well. But the Toronto Blue Jays win this series if they keep Judge and Stanton quiet. Look, Judge, I wouldn't say exactly ended his postseason narrative in the first round of the playoffs. He got a couple of hits, drove in a run. The run he drove in game two, misplayed ball by Jarren Duran in the outfield. Then he dives, clanks it. So technically it goes in the books as a hit. He had a broken bat single to center, had a couple hard hit balls, but all singles. I wouldn't exactly say the postseason narrative has yet gone away. Judge needs an extra base hit in this round. Stanton needs to hit balls over the fence because it's a struggle for him to get to second base when he doesn't hit balls over the fence. If the Toronto Blue Jays can keep Judge and Stanton quiet, I think they win this series. Obviously a very tall task. But Judge isn't firing on all cylinders right now. And I think they can. Blue Jays starters are good. If they keep them quiet, they can win the series. Let's see what you guys are saying. The conversation around Aaron Judge will be so interesting if they get bounced and he doesn't perform well. Absolutely. Gausman versus Heel in game one is what you're thinking. I could absolutely see that being the case. Home field record, defense. Yankees have a deeper offense. I mean, yeah, I think so. I mean, let's go through their last few games. But yeah, I think the Yankees offense is deeper right now, especially with Bo Bichette being out. Right? Let's hold up. Go scores, schedule. When was that game? Okay. All right, so let's take a look through the Yankees lineup right now. How do we get to the box score? God. Okay. Let's look at this box score. Yankees lineup. Trent Grisham, Aaron Judge, Bellinger, Stanton. Rice had a really good regular season against a righty. You're probably then going to go, and again, there's not many lefties for the Blue Jays. You're probably going to go Jazz. Volpe had a good series in Austin Wells in the 9-hole. I do think that's a pretty good and deep lineup, if you ask me. Let's compare that to the Blue Jays. Let's compare that to the Blue Jays. We're going to go get to them, their schedule, and we'll back that up, and we'll go to this series against the Red Sox at the end of the year. Springer, Lukes, Vladdy, Barger, Santander, just back from injury. Bad, hit 180 on the year with a 576 OPS. He's not exactly the same guy he was last year, but he was injured all year. So I think Anthony Santander is the X factor of this series. If he can be any semblance of what he was last year, that's huge. Varsho, Clement, Jimenez, and then Heineman. Let me know if you think I'm crazy. I feel like this Yankees lineup is deeper than this Blue Jays lineup, especially with Bo being out, and he's not going to be in this ALDS series. So I think lineup depth goes to the New York Yankees in my opinion. So back into the bullpen. The path for the Blue Jays to win this series, I do think is tough. I think the Yankees are firing on all cylinders right now. I think their starting pitchers are throwing great. I think their lineup depth is better. I think the back end of their bullpen is better. So I'm going to have the New York Yankees surviving and advancing to the ALCS out of this series. It's deeper only because Bo is out. Exactly. But that's what I'm previewing this series. So Bo is out, unfortunately. I wish he wasn't. I wish the Blue Jays were at full strength, but they're not. So I think the Yankees lineup is going to be deeper. Trey Savage. I think he's awesome. Jays. All right. That's this series. Let's move on to maybe the best series of the DS round, and that is Dodgers-Phillies. What a heavyweight bout this is. Two of the most favored teams to win the World Series. Dodgers-Phillies. Dodgers advance over the Reds in what was a bloodbath of a series. That series went about as expected. The Dodgers offense is way too much for the Cincinnati Reds. The Dodgers bullpen is an issue. They tried to blow every game, but they just overpowered them offensively and end up winning that series 2-0. It's the only one that didn't go to a game 3. But the Dodgers' reward is they get to play the Philadelphia Phillies, which is going to be an awesome series. In game 1 of this series, we get Shohei Ohtani against Christopher Sanchez, which is going to be an awesome matchup. Christopher Sanchez, a 2.5 ERA on the year. Shohei Ohtani, a 2.87 ERA in his limited starts, but he was awesome. Has been unhittable his last few starts. Christopher Sanchez, one of the most underrated pitchers in all of baseball. He was an absolute star this year for the Philadelphia Phillies. I hate that Zach Wheeler went down. I hate that they don't have him, but their pitching staff is still deep enough to win this series if they can pitch well. So the Dodgers' strengths are simple, in my opinion. The Dodgers' strengths are their 3 MVPs. There are 3 MVPs in the lineup, and they're starting pitching. No matter where you turn with your starting pitching, they're dominant. They are dominant in their rotation. They had to play in the wild card round. They went Blake Snell and Yamamoto. Okay, oh no, we advanced, but we had to play another series already. Our starter is going to be Shohei Ohtani in game 1, and then we're going to be able to turn to whoever we want. Blake Snell or Tyler Glasnow. We haven't even mentioned Tyler Glasnow yet. He hasn't even pitched. He hasn't even been mentioned. They could skip him in the rotation if they want and put him in the bullpen, which they might need to do because their bullpen is an absolute mess. So what do? I don't know, but their starting pitching is an absolute strength for them, plus the 3-headed monster at the top of their lineup in Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman. The Phillies' big strength, their lineup is so deep. This lineup is awesome. Trey Turner's back, thankfully for them. And then no matter where you turn, Schwarber, Harper, who's a playoff hero, Real Muto, whatever they do at the bottom of their lineup. What do they do with Nick Castellanos? I don't know, but he can be a stud when he plays. This team is awesome. The lineup depth is great for them. Stott had a good year at the bottom of the lineup. And another big advantage for them is their closer. I think Yohan Duran is the best closer in baseball right now. He's a huge advantage for them over the Los Angeles Dodgers at the back end of the bullpen. If you can get some depth and get your starters to pitch deep into games and hand the ball to Duran, that's going to be a problem for the Dodgers. This series is going to be awesome. A heavyweight bout. The Dodgers win this series if Shohei, Mookie, and Freddie all show up. And why do I say that? It seems like an easy, obvious answer, right? Oh, sure, Ben, all 3 of your MVPs show up and have success. Well, yes, this is going to be a tough series for them. You need your guys to show up. If Mookie and Freddie have a down series and Shohei goes off, I don't think they win. If Shohei has a down series and Mookie and Freddie go off, I still don't think they win because of the depth that the Phillies have, the rotation, the back end of the bullpen, I think those things are better than the Dodgers. Depth in the lineup, advantage Phillies. I'm not saying top of the lineup. I'll take Shohei, Mookie, Freddie over anyone. But depth in the lineup, advantage Phillies. Back into the bullpen, clear advantage Phillies. So if you can get into that bullpen early, that's advantage Phillies. The Phillies beat the Dodgers if. This one's interesting for me. I like this. The Phillies beat the Dodgers if they get 3 or more quality starts from their starting pitchers. 3 or more quality starts. That's 6 innings, 6 or more innings, and 3 earned runs or less. If you can get that from your starters, I think the offense is good enough to put up some runs, and then you can hand it to the back end of your bullpen. And I think if you can get 3 or more quality starts, I think the Phillies win this series. Also, think of this advantage for the Phillies. A lot of their big, good arms, Christopher Sanchez, who's going to start game 1, and then you have Luzardo, you have Suarez. Think of these guys that they're going to be rolling out. Left-handed pitchers. Dodgers big 3, Shohei, Freddie, 2 lefties. Can these lefty starting pitchers silence 2 of the 3 Dodgers big 3? I think that's going to be a huge battle to look out for, is those lefty on lefty matchups. But the Phillies rotation was really good. Really good this year, and they're predominantly left-handed, which matches up well against the Dodgers. So the Dodgers are never a perfect matchup for anyone, ever. But if there was a good matchup for this pitching staff, it's having to face these lefties. If there was a bad matchup for the Dodgers, it's this rotation with the Phillies. Really good and left-handed, heavy. So the Phillies beat the Dodgers if they get at least 3 quality starts from their starting pitchers. They're also starting at home. They have home field advantage here. First 2 games at home. Look, in a 5-game series, I often don't see a huge advantage in home field because if you're the road team, you just have to split. Win 1 game, and I think all the momentum goes to you. If you can split on the road in a 5-game series, there's a chance the series doesn't even get back. And then a game 5 is like all hands on deck for everybody. All bets are off in a game 5. So if you're the road team and you win 1 game on the road in a 5-game series, I think all the advantage goes to you. The big X factor for me in this series is the Dodgers bullpen. The course of 162 games tells you exactly what a team is. We know what the Dodgers are. They're a team that rakes, they're a team that has a great starting pitching staff, and they're a team that really, really struggles with their bullpen. It happened against the Reds. They blew the Reds out of the water offensively and with their starters. But the second the games would go to the bullpen, the Dodgers legitimately would almost blow out games because of their starting pitchers. Blake Snell in game 1, 7 fantastic innings, 2 earned. The very next inning, the bullpen threw the most pitches in a playoff game for the Dodgers of all time, like 58 or 59 pitches in the 8th inning for the Dodgers bullpen. Gave up 3 runs, walked the world, a bunch of hits, gave up some runs, let the Reds right back in it. Game 2, the exact same thing. A massive lead when your starter comes out. Yamamoto was again good. Hand it over to the bullpen. Again, almost blow it. It's insane. The bullpen is a big issue for the Los Angeles Dodgers. They showed us that over the course of 162. They've already shown us that in the playoffs. And now in this huge series, it's going to be a factor. This Dodgers bullpen is going to blow a game. How many do they blow, I think, becomes the question. That's why the Dodgers bullpen for me is the big X factor in this series. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat about this series. Kershaw, Sasaki. Sasaki's a huge X factor. Sasaki's been great. I said it coming into the playoffs. He's going to be the key for the Dodgers bullpen in the playoffs, and he's been great so far. Look, 101 with a nasty splitter. That plays. Shohei Ohtani starting on the mound in game 1 and leading off. Think of this moment. Put yourself in this moment. When does this game start? 6:38 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday. Put yourself there. It's 6:38 Eastern time. Dodgers, Phillies, NLDS is kicking off. Shohei Ohtani is walking up to the plate to be the leadoff batter to kick off this entire series, and then he heads to the mound when the Phillies come to the plate to start the series as well. How insane is that? It's absolutely remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. Man, I cannot wait. We are getting history. Shohei Ohtani leading off the game and the starter in game 1. How awesome is that going to be? Shohei Ohtani is the best player in this series. Shohei Ohtani is the best player in baseball. He's the best player in these playoffs. The Dodgers have Shohei and the Phillies don't. How can those lefty starters quiet him and Freddie? Are they able to? That's the big story for this series. Two big juggernauts, stars everywhere you look. But the big storyline, and I think the key difference in this series, is can the really good Phillies lefty starters silence Shohei and Freddie in that lineup? My answer is ultimately yes. I do believe the Phillies advance out of this series. I cannot wait for this series. I think it goes 5 games. I wish this was a 7-game series. This is going to be awesome. I have the Phillies advancing over the Dodgers in one of the best series we're going to get all playoffs. Maybe the best series we're going to get all playoffs. Ohtani was hurt last year. Ohtani was hurt last year in the World Series. Yes, he was playing with one shoulder in the World Series last year. Dodgers are cooked unless they come up with a bullpen plan. I would use Sheehan, Glasnow, Kershaw, Trinan. Forget the rest. Roki closes. I hear you. Sheehan was one of their pitchers in game 2, by the way, that gave it up. I mean, he was not good. Couldn't find the zone, but he's been really good down the stretch. So just maybe a one-off. I do agree with you. He's going to be a factor in the bullpen. Hopefully he's better than he was in game 2 against the Reds. But yes, Roki's a huge factor in the back end of the bullpen, which is awesome. Think of that. Roki Sasaki in April was emotional in the dugout after a bad performance. We saw Roki Sasaki emotional after a bad outing in the dugout, ends up getting sent down. So in April, Roki in tears in the dugout. In October, Roki on the mound to close out an elimination game in a playoff series, close out the series with Dodger Stadium chanting his name. How awesome is that? What a turnaround. Really cool to see, to be honest. The week off is going to be in play here. A lot of teams struggle with that. History says you're right, JG Bull. History tells us that the bye isn't necessarily a good thing. And in this series specifically, the Dodgers are less hurt than anybody by having to play in that first round because the big deal is starting pitching, right? And we're seeing that with the Detroit Tigers. Who do they turn to in game 1? Do they go Skubal on short rest or do they go with a different pitcher altogether? Same with the Yankees. Do they go with Fried on short rest? Probably not. Or do they go with Heel in game 1? Same with the Cubs. Who do the Cubs go with? But the Los Angeles Dodgers, the story becomes, okay, we have Shohei Ohtani going in game 1, or Glasnow in game 2, or back to Snell in game 2. it's less of a factor for the Dodgers, and the Phillies are in the situation that historically hasn't been great for teams, although the Dodgers won the World Series last year with a bye. So keep an eye on that. It's just big offensively. Are the batters able to stay ready and stay locked in after a bye? But we saw a lot of teams having inter-squatting and playing against each other. So maybe teams are learning from that and just acting like it's business as usual and just playing a full-on inter-squad and letting your players stay hot. Tanner Scott didn't have Phillies 2 weeks ago. What do you think of that? Maybe he is a secret weapon against their top of the order. For sure. I mean, Tanner Scott's going to need to step up. With Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, he has to step up. Ohtani will get rocked. That's doubtful. I doubt he gets rocked. He might not. Look, who knows? It's his first playoff start. He might be too amped up. But for me, when Shohei doesn't pitch well, it's not getting rocked. It's that he can lose the strike zone. I don't foresee him getting rocked by any means. I do have the Phillies advancing in this series over the Dodgers in what is, in my opinion, the most exciting DS matchup. Let me know what you guys think. Who do you have advancing? Dodgers or Phillies? Let me see it in the chat. And we'll move on to the final series. We got Cubbies. We got Brewers. The NL Central rivalry. This series there's even another layer here because this series is, look, 2 years ago, the Brewers, who were the cream of the crop in the Central, all of a sudden just lost their manager. Their manager jumped ship to go to the Chicago Cubs, the team that was viewed as the better job, the sexier job. I'm leaving. I'm going to Chicago. The team's set up better for the future. Well, last year, that wasn't the case. This year, that so far isn't the case. Brewers have the number 1 seed. So Craig Counsell leaves the Brewers to go to the Cubs, the better job, and that has not been the case. Is this the series that changes that? Is this where the Cubs get over that hump of the Brewers and change the course of the NL Central and become the team to beat in the NL Central? This series is a lot of fun because these two teams know each other very, very well. Let's talk through it. Let's talk through these teams' strength. The Brewers' big strength is their starting pitcher. We know that they are starting Freddie Peralta in Game 1. Freddie Peralta is one of the best pitchers on the planet. Don't overlook the year Freddie Peralta had because of what Paul Skeens did. Paul Skeens is going to win the NL Cy Young Award, but Freddie Peralta went 17-6 with a 2.7 ERA and 204 strikeouts on the year. That's how nasty he was. He's nasty. This is going to be a huge advantage. Game 1 is huge advantage Brewers because of the starting pitching matchup with Freddie Peralta going, and the Cubs just going to have to figure it out. But over the course of the regular season, Brewers starting pitching was nasty. They ranked number 1 in the National League in all of baseball. They were number 2 in all of baseball. ERA-wise, we're not going to do the bottom. That's the Colorado Rockies. ERA-wise, the best team ERA in all of baseball, the Milwaukee Brewers. A team 3.58 ERA. That's remarkable. A 230 batting average against. This Milwaukee Brewers pitching staff is awesome. So that's their big strength. The Cubs' big strength is the studs in their lineup, right? Kyle Tucker, PCA, Seiya Suzuki, Michael Busch has been really good. So those guys need to step up, in my opinion. The Brewers beat the Cubs by dominating starting pitching. You have the best staff in baseball. You have the best starting pitching, the best team pitching in all of baseball over the course of 162 games. Can you keep that going in the playoffs is going to be huge for me. So we'll keep an eye on that. That's how the Brewers win this series, silencing that Cubs offense that wasn't exactly firing on all cylinders in the first round. Right? They started to heat up a little bit, but this Brewers pitching is absolutely capable of shutting down the Cubs offense. The Cubs win this series by Kyle Tucker, PCA, and Seiya Suzuki staying hot. Kyle Tucker was hurt for a strong majority of the year. He came back. He wasn't great. He's not yet playing the outfield, but you could see it as that wild card round went on. You could see Kyle Tucker getting more and more comfortable at the plate. Game 3 of that wild card round, Seiya Suzuki, or PCA with 3 knocks in that game. Seiya Suzuki with a home run early in the series. He looked good offensively. Seiya Suzuki has been good at the plate and been hot. If those guys step up, I think their star power can be too much for the Milwaukee Brewers. Worried about Keller after yesterday. Yeah, Keller was not good in Game 3. Keller tried to give it up, for sure. Cubs bullpen worries me for sure. This series is going to be a lot of fun, back and forth. I think it goes deep. Brewers win by dominant starting pitching. Cubs win by Kyle Tucker, PCA, and Seiya Suzuki stepping up. The X factor in this series is the Brewers' offense. Look, I'll say this about the Brewers. The Brewers are the number 1 seed in baseball. The Brewers had the best record in baseball. The Brewers over 162 were undoubtedly the best team in baseball. But I don't look at this Brewers team and think necessarily that they are a team built for October. And what I mean by that, when we look at this playoff picture, teams built for October. You know, I think many of these teams. What I mean by that is just having some studs in your offense built with dominant starting pitching. And I don't know if the Brewers offense is built that way. I don't know if the Brewers front office did enough at the trade deadline to make this Brewers team a massive threat come October. I don't think this team is built for October. I think they're built to win over the course of 162 games, but I don't think they're built to be a dominant team in October. I could be wrong. The Brewers could throttle the Cubs, right? This could be a series that we look back and say, yeah, the Brewers were the number 1 seed for a reason. They dominated that series. But I have big concerns about this Brewers team. They added Andrew Vaughn at the trade deadline. He was like unbelievable for the first few weeks with the Brewers. But he's back down to earth. He's not this big threat in the middle of the lineup that I think they needed. Obviously, back into the bullpen is very good. McGill is back and seemingly healthy. Abner Uribe was awesome at the back end of the bullpen for them this year. Starting pitching is very good. This is why it's my X factor. It's going to be about, can the Milwaukee Brewers score? Can this offense that has shown in the past few playoffs that they struggle offensively, can they be better this year? Can these young guys learn from past playoffs? Jackson Chourio, can he step up and be better? Christian Yelich needs to be an MVP type of player in the playoffs. Milwaukee, let's see what the chat has to say about this. Milwaukee had a lucky 14-game win streak playing some crappy teams. There's no lucky 14-game win streak. It's baseball. If you win 14 games in a row, the schedule is set. You have to play the teams you have to play. If you can win 14 games in a row against anybody, it's a remarkable stretch. Give every other team, 29 other teams, 14 games against the Colorado Rockies. I bet you nobody wins 14 in a row. It's a remarkable stretch no matter who you're playing. Cubs pitching outdueled the Padres, and they were second in MLB. Look, I'll say, I'm not doing too much recapping of the other series, but I'll say this about the Padres. The Padres gave up 3 runs every single game of that series. There's no excuse to not win. You lost 2 of 3 games, only giving up 3 runs. The offense just didn't show up. Tatis and Machado went 2 for 22 with 7 punch-outs. Tatis looked lost at the plate. You needed your guys to step up, and they didn't. It was as simple as that. They pitched really well. The Padres pitched really well. Back into the bullpen as a whole was disgusting. But their offense just didn't step up. Machado had the 1 homer, but other than that, the 2 of them combined. In a team full of studs in the offense, your 2 biggest studs went 2 for 22 at the plate. You couldn't score 4 runs. You couldn't score 4 or more runs more than one time. If you do, you win the series. Cubs pitched. That was going to be the big question, is can the Cubs pitch? What does the back end of their bullpen look like? They still have some question marks in the back end of the bullpen. But Palencia, 101, nasty stuff at the back end. He's awesome. He looked awesome. So we'll see. We'll see how this series shakes out. I got the Mariners winning it all. I actually have the Mariners advancing out of the American League as well. Ben, to have a team that can fight for the championship, does he need at least 2 good starting pitchers and 2 home run hitters? That the blueprint, in my opinion, is at least 3 studs in a starting rotation. So you look at teams that have that, right? The blueprint to winning in October, 3 studs in the rotation. The Los Angeles Dodgers, check. Philadelphia Phillies, check. No. Blue Jays, I'll say check. With Bieber, the Bieber addition, he absolutely can be a stud in the rotation. Gosman, and then whatever direction they go from there, they have some good options. Yankees, check. Fried, Rodon, Schlittler, disgusting. Mariners, check. Tigers, no. So this is just my formula. Have 3 studs in the rotation and some guys in the offense, some stars in the offense. And all of those teams have it. Dodgers, Phillies, Blue Jays, Yankees, Mariners. Those 5 teams, in my opinion, have the blueprint to win it all in October. We'll see if my blueprint is a load of crap or if it is actually something. We've seen it in the past. Like the Dodgers didn't have the rights, the stud starters last year. They had them, but they weren't pitching on all cylinders, and they relied on their bullpen a lot. If Woo's unable to play in the DS, how much does that hurt Seattle? It's definitely a negative, but I think they're good enough to be okay without him. I think you're able to turn to Castillo, Gilbert, and then whoever else they want. Really, I mean the team as a whole. Let's look at it. Let's look at the Mariners pitching this year. Where's Seattle? Why am I missing? What? All teams? Oh, they're up here in the American League. Okay. Regular season, Mariners pitching. Brian Wu, the best of the best, right? Luis Castillo, he's probably going to be he's probably starting game 1 is my guess. Luis Castillo. Logan Gilbert's going to be another guy that's a starting pitcher. Are you going to turn to a George Kirby? My guess is yes. My guess is you turn to Kirby instead of a Wu in game 3. But like with a quick hook, because then you can go to a Bryce Miller, you can turn to a lot of these guys out of the bullpen. And then the back end of the bullpen has just been disgusting. Munoz, Brash Munoz had a 1.73 on the year. Brash had a 2.47. Bizardo's the back end of the bullpen is really, really good. So Wu not being available does hurt the Seattle Mariners. But in my opinion, I still think they can advance out of this series without Brian Wu pitching. But that's it, guys. We've gone through all of these series. Bunch of good matchups, all starting tomorrow. Detroit Tigers against the Seattle Mariners. Let's take a peek at the schedule as we finish up here so you guys know what games are first, the timing of all of those. Actually, it was right here on the main page. First game at 2:08 Eastern Time, we're getting Cubbies at Brewers. At 4:08 Eastern Time, we're getting Yankees at Blue Jays. 6:38. It's not often the New York Yankees are kicked out of the primetime spot, but that's how good the Dodgers-Phillies series is. They're taking the primetime spot. We're getting Dodgers at Phillies, 6:38 p.m. Eastern Time, and the night game, Detroit at Seattle, 8:38 p.m. Eastern Time. And all of these games are tomorrow. We get 4 on Saturday. The ALDS Game 2s are on Sunday. The NLDS Game 2s are on Monday. And then and we're off and running from there. Bunch of exciting series about to start. This has been a fun show, guys. Really fun show. Thank you all for watching. Enjoy these games. Make sure you're all subscribed to the MLB YouTube channel, by the way. We're going to be doing these all throughout the playoffs, previewing the series. We're going to be doing it ahead of the CSs, ahead of the World Series, and who knows, maybe some more sprinkled in between there ahead of some elimination games or something like that. But these are a lot of fun. I really appreciate you all watching and listening and having fun along with me. Hope you enjoyed these previews. There's a lot to talk through. A lot to talk through when it comes to these games, but it all starts tomorrow. So again, make sure you're subscribed here. I'm Ben Verlander. I appreciate you all for watching and enjoying this preview with me and asking a bunch of questions. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you, MLB. Thanks for being here, everyone. Thanks for being in the chat, asking all these questions. This was awesome. Really fun show. Appreciate you all, and we'll do it again soon.